What would be the Okay.
Hello. I think your mic is off. I can't hear you.
Yeah, yes. Now it's okay, sir.
Yeah, it's okay.
Very good afternoon, sir, and thanks for your participation. And sharp 1 more minute is left to start.
Okay, then I'll just give the inauguration speech and that's it. No more.
Yeah,
right?
that is what. Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay.
And about industry also, you can give a brief about the industry.
Now this is concerning on trade or on what?
Yeah, trade, finance, and corporate listing. Corporate listing, the company, how they can able to recognition in this region by listing with Abu Dhabi Stock Exchange. So they will be providing more information for getting the credibility on how it is happening. So I will also be heading that panel, and we'll be having that the Q&A. One presentation will be there, how the domestic companies can able to list, and this is basically getting the recognition. That is also one part. Second is IPO participation, and third is different kind of listing, even though the bond, JV, and all this kind of things.
How will they be listed in Abu Dhabi?
Yes, Abu Dhabi Stock Exchange, ED and MD of ADX participating now.
Okay.
Their session is for 4 to 5, 1 hour session.
But I think I'll let them say that. I just do the integration and welcome them and wishing them the best. It won't be long.
Sure.
How to register? You said in Abu Dhabi Exchange.
Yes.
Abu Dhabi Exchange Market, was it Abu Dhabi?
Yeah, Abu Dhabi Exchange Market, and a listing SME company and also, and they have started the new SME platform, and that will be beneficial for most of the domestic and international companies. Hello, yes, sir.
How many participants do we have already?
Sir, we have 2 channels. One is Zoom. Limited interactive sessions are coming, yes. And we are giving through the YouTube and Facebook as well. So multiple channels we are routing. So exact count after that we can update, sir. Okay, so James Matthew.
Can I have water?
So welcome, James sir, welcome.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much, Sajid. Thank you so much. Thank you for being late. Sorry about it. Yeah.
No worries. We are going to start, about to start now. Yes.
Excellency. Yes.
Hello.
Salam.
So good afternoon, Mr. Ahmed. You are also there, I hope.
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Salam.
Can you check Sheikh Khalid? Let's start. All okay. I'm going to start. Whenever Sheikh Khalid is coming up. Yeah. A warm welcome to IBMC. Our chief guest of the day, His Excellency Humaid bin Salim, Secretary General, Federation of UAE Chamber of Commerce and Industry. His Excellency Sheikh Khalid bin Ahmed Al Hamid, our chairman. Our special industry speakers, Mr. Majid Maita, the Managing Director, Capital Market from Abu Dhabi Securities Exchange. Mr. Majid Abu Jarrad, Executive Director, Capital Market from Abu Dhabi Securities Exchange, Abu Dhabi. Mr. James Mathis, CEO and MD, UHY James. Mr. Ahmad Saeed Ali, CEO, Bearable Global Investment Group, DIFC. Advocate Binoy Shashi, International Lawyer, DIFC. Our respected stakeholders and international industry participants for the day. Very good afternoon to all of you and warm welcome to IBMC Global Trades and Business Meet 2021. This is the second event, February event. Considering the enormous opportunities from non-oil sector diversification programs, IBMC had set a 5 years growth project and started in the year of 2017 with the leadership of His Excellency Sheikh Khalid bin Ahmed Al Hamid, the chairman of IBMC UAE. In 2021, fourth year, we have scheduled our project roadmap focusing 33 sectors and introducing 3 sectors on each month. Global Trade and Business Meets 2021 started last month and started introducing 3 sectors to empower business and investment and also to support UAE's non-oil sector diversification program by connecting global business class from UAE. So as a part of 5-year project, we have developed SME economy, e-marketplace trade flow also. And I'm inviting all of you to join and experience. And it's a complimentary to all companies and individual, that's the international companies, they can also join and individual can also join into that. For companies, SMEconomy-UAE.com website, they can visit and app for public and anyone can able to join, so complimentary. So SME space economy, that's Android and iOS platform. So January month, the last month, what we were focusing to 3 areas, so that's bullion, metals and minerals. With a special delegation from Tanzania, post-event activities are most important to IBMC and we have started supporting business class and investors connected to 50+ countries. So this month, second month, we are focusing to trade, finance and corporate listing. So we are heading for that the new era and redefined the trade or redefined finance or redefined the market activities are coming up. So eminent industry speakers are with us today. I hope that this month event will be beneficial for UAE and international business class and investors. I would like to invite His Excellency Humaid bin Salim, Secretary General, Federation of UAE Chambers of Commerce and Industry, for the Global Trade and Business Meet 2021, this second month, February event inaugural speech. Sir, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much, my colleague. First of all, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's really given me a great pleasure to inaugurate this second business meet we have. I would like first of all, to thank His Excellency Sheikh Khalid Al Hamid and IBMC for the cooperation that we have with them as the Federation of the Chamber of Commerce and Industry in the United Arab Emirates. Also, this meet is very important. I would like to emphasize on lots of aspects. First of all, I would like to encourage the companies to register an Abu Dhabi exchange market and use the platform for the SMEs and reach out to other companies to have cooperation. And if there's anything we can do as the Federation, we are always at your disposal. All you need is just ask. I think companies in the United Arab Emirates are doing very good despite this COVID last year and the ups and downs in the market. But I think we are doing good. We are reaching back. We are getting ourselves together with the help with our friends in IBMC. And I won't talk long. I'll just leave my colleagues who are more specialized in spotting out some of the important events in this meeting. Thank you very much, and I wish you all the best. And thank you again.
Thank you so much, sir. I would like to invite for our first industry presentation, Mr. James Matthew, CEO and Managing Director of UHY James UAE. Sir, please.
His Excellency Humaid bin Salim, Secretary General, Federation of UAE Chambers of Commerce and Industry. His Excellency Sheikh Khalid bin Hamad, Chairman IBMC, my friend Sajid Kumar, esteemed speakers and panelists, ladies and gentlemen. A very good afternoon to each one of you. First of all, I would like to thank IBMC Global for giving me an opportunity to share my thoughts with you on a very important topic, trade finance system in the changing economic scenario. I'd like to appreciate and congratulate IBMC for the commendable job. I've been knowing PK Sajid Kumar for the last 10 plus years. I've been closely watching him, and it was heartening to note that in the last 2 months, the number of the case studies he has picked up and the post-event interactions that he had, and I'm sure that things are progressing in the right direction. I do not have, yesterday was a discussion for me and I could not prepare a presentation for you, but I have something I thought, okay, I'll share with you. These are the few points I would like to cover maybe in the next 15 or 20 minutes, maybe I may have. And then in between, if you have got any questions, please raise it to me. I can speak to you on that. Just would like to start with my background, then I'll take you through a type of companies that can be set up here. Why I'm talking about the type of companies, because that will drive you to the banking scenario and banking system here. The UAE's journey towards the compliance, the cycle of recession that we've been seeing in every 7 to 8 years time. We will then talk about the big failures in the corporate world that we have seen in the UAE and way forward for the UAE economy and banking prior to the 2017-18, before the VAT and everything was introduced. And how do you see the banking sector in the coming years? These are the few things which I would like to just talk to you about. I'm a chartered accountant. I've been in the UAE for the last 28 years, all along practicing. I've been seeing thousands of companies. I'm previewing books of 1,000 plus businesses in the last so many years. I have had the opportunity to interact with the business owners in the last so many years as part of my professional job. We are a firm based out of UAE, which has got its presence in 5 Emirates. We are listed with the DFSA, listed in the sense we are one of the authorized or regulated auditors, one of the 16 auditors regulated with the DFSA ADGM. And we present, as I said, in 5 Emirates. We've got a people strength of around 75 and 6 partners. I'll quickly move on to the type of companies that can be set up. I just want to give you a perspective, how people perceived companies here, setting up companies here, how they use the banking system, how do they misuse the banking system, because that is something which I thought is essential for me to speak to you, how we are progressing and where we will be moving into. As you would know, we have the mainland companies, we have free zone companies. This is the 50th year of UAE 2021 after its formation. We have 400,000 plus companies set up in almost all the 45 plus free zones plus the mainland. Each of the Emirates follow their own regulation in terms of managing those businesses, because if DED will have, Dubai will have different in terms of the capital, in terms of their company law interpretation. So, and as regards the bookkeeping and record maintenance, although it's a company law stipulates that everyone has to maintain, and every economic department would ask for that balance sheet, but today I think that's not being followed. So the free zone, some of the free zones insisted that the businesses should maintain proper books and they should have an audited account submitted at the end of every year at the time of renewal. But that was not something very, very strictly followed. And so in a LLC company, you got around 51-49 ownership. 51% is basically the UAE national and 49 is the de facto owner. Out of out of all the LLC companies, maybe 90% of those companies are basically with 100% investment from outside or non-UAE national investments. Maybe a 7 to 10% of the companies would be where they are involved into the business. So, people did not have a 100% ownership in those businesses. People moved on, and the free zones mushroomed. You could see that all of this free zone with the 7,000, 10,000 companies with some with 100% ownership, and also it has something to do with the international regulation, IFRS. Financial reporting standards, which stipulates of consolidation of financial statements. When you have a control, when you do not have a control, when you have a more than significant 51% ownership with someone else, how do you take it? That was a mindset. Although substance over the legal form, things could be consolidated, things could be controlled, but people prefer to keep a free zone entity. Now, after the 2008 episode, in all what was happening, the global financial, I'll talk about the recessions which happened, which have, almost happening in every 7 to 8 years time. The robust regulatory framework was introduced. Central bank maintains a high level of AML compliance. We have 2 financial free zones, ADGM and DIFC, maintaining very strong regulatory framework again there. We introduced the AML, we introduced the ultimate beneficial ownership, the economic substance regulation, which is nothing but you can't simply shift profits and park the profits here without having the economic substance here, without having a proper office, without having number of people employed here. We introduced in 1st of January 2018 the value-added tax, the excise tax. So these were the new regulations which came into the picture. I'm sure all of you would have read in the press that the day before yesterday, 6 of the banks have been fined by the central bank of around 45 million dirhams. And you would also keep reading this one, DIFC as well, DFSA as well as the ADGM fining people who are not complying with AML. So compliance has not been just limited to these 3. Initially, this compliance was only for, central bank regulated, maybe exchange houses, banks, insurance companies, or maybe the DIFC or ADGM companies. Now, if you could see now, the compliance cost has gone up because every organization has to have a compliance officer. So there are a complete change, a 360-degree change in the way we have looked at companies here. So what has that done? So we saw a lot of those, because I'm in the practice, I could see a lot of those companies moving away from this market because they didn't want to comply with. So on one side, You lost a few companies, but and the best part is that the UAE is being looked upon as the level playing ground across the world, and there are more and more new companies are coming in. So the compliance is not something which has done something wrong. It is, yes, of course, on the other side, the cost of operation has gone up, but that is okay because that's something to do with the business. I'll move on with, I know that the time is running out, the cycle of recessions in almost every 7 to 8 years. I came in the year 1992, we had a recession, 99 we had a recession, 2007-8 we had a recession, 2015 of course, 14-15 we had again. Normally every country used to pick up a couple of years time, you come back. But then if you ask me, after the 2015 episode, we didn't have a real takeoff. Okay, mix and match here and there, but it is not, maybe then in 2019, we all know what has happened. I'll come on to that point, why we did not take off, or at a later part of my presentation. We have also the big failures which has happened. We all read that NMC, one of the large, a company which everybody appreciated, everybody saw the company growing, 35, 40-year-old company, came down. Arabtech, again, another company which was listed, which has come down. There were so many companies, Abraj Capital, which was again, which has failed in it, and then this has become and brought in a big dent in the confidence of international investors. Now, I just would like to now move forward, way forward for UAE. These are the main positives for the state looking at the long term. 2021, as I said, is the 50th year of its formation. More than 35 out of 100 people are vaccinated today. COVID has been well managed. Today, UAE is considered to be the safest place. And we all are, we all have the luxury to choose which vaccine to select, because, while other countries are fighting for the vaccine, how the country and its leadership has responded to the pandemic, as His Excellency just told, that everything is being brought under control. The stimulus packages, 256 billion, deferment of loan, and the reduction in the business fees. These were some of the initiatives. 100% ownership of businesses. UAE is going to be a gateway, is already a gateway to Africa. And it's a third re-export hub after Singapore and Hong Kong. So there's a huge, huge potential waiting for us. Retirement visas, one of the top countries in terms of the infrastructure, no corporate tax or income tax, citizenship is being offered to UAE national. Real estate, I just want to bring it, because you are now talking about the listing. In Mumbai Stock Exchange, people who are investing into the business, they sometimes, even if their businesses are not doing well, if the Sensex goes up, they are very, very happy. Real estate is also a similar thing here in the UAE. If the real estate does well, even if your businesses are not doing well, we are happy to go ahead with that one. But unfortunately, the real estate in the last 3 years has been hit really bad, because if you look at today, Burj Khalifa is the tallest tower in the world. You can pick up a 1 square foot of area, maybe $600. $600, the tallest tower, is something which is amazing. But you look at the yield, what you're getting in here, 6 to 7% yield is what that you're getting in UAE. So real estate which has not been doing that great, because so many the sentiments are also a little bit down on it. So we also have the Qatar UAE business corridor, which is again an amazing opportunity for us. If you look at the 16 or 17 million people that have visited here, 200,000 are Qataris, but it is estimated that Qataris are going to be the top 10 investors into the real estate. They're the largest spenders into it. The Expo 2021 coming in this year, the football in the next coming year in Qatar. These are all game changers. Israel and UAE Accord is again a game changer for all us. DMCC just announced that 92 companies have formed in the last 3 months' time. So there will be a lot of those companies coming in. Now, I just want to move to the main area of my banking with this background. Prior to maybe 5-6 years back, how did the banking sector do? I talked to you about 400,000 plus companies. these companies have nobody asked them, no accountability, or nobody maintained proper books of accounts. There was no Etihad Credit Bureau, there was no transparency, there was no VAT there, nobody could see what was happening. So the banking sector purely relied on what information the clients provided. So what was happening was, in the last few years, prior to the VAT coming in, we could see a lot of financial facilities being extended to large SME sectors. For example, today there used to be accommodation of invoices or bill discounting, and there are a lot of things which was taking place. Supplier A selling goods to customer A, customer B, and there is a local delivery, and it goes to the bank with the invoice, and invoice banks could they could discount this and then give the money, whereas the actual sale has not happened. But when the VAT came in, nobody wanted to actually get into that trap, and you raising an invoice. So right from 2017 you could see a corrections. This is exactly the reason I said after 2017, after the 2015, it took some time. So 2018, all this turnover, even on the survey of SMEs, they showed that in this pandemic, almost 80% of the businesses have reduced their turnover significantly. So what I just wanted to say is that these businesses came down heavily on the turnover on one side. On the other side, these companies have borrowed heavily from the bank. And when the bank started seeing the lower turnover versus the actual exposure which they had, they started pulling back the facilities. That was the beginning of some of the companies exiting from here. Some of the people, we had a large number of companies going out from this market. So that has become again IFRS 9, which is again a reporting standard which stipulates the way the provisioning has to be done in the banks. You saw the results of National Bank of Fujairah, which was announced, I think, 2 days back. It is, I think, loss of around 400 million dirhams. You had the largest bank, FAB, it's a reduced profit of, I think, around 27%, which is around 12 billion. MSNBD around 10 billion. So the banks have come down heavily, because of all these provisions. And that is also, as I told you about, some of the companies went down. Some of the confidence level came down. These people fled the country. The banks were, actually not, actually very surprised to see the situations, and they're still going through that phase. I'm sure that the coming time would be good, because Etihad Credit Bureau today allows you to give you a credit history of you for the last 24 months. This is for the personal as well as this one. VAT returns, for example, if you take the VAT returns, you can run through it and then see if the actual turnover is what is disclosed in the financial statement is matching or not. So they could see everything from there before they could, start lending money. So I just wanted to say, this is where, it's like some of the businesses which I'm told, I'm reminded of Satyam's MD, Ramalinga Raju, who said, I am riding on a tiger, because if I get down from the tiger will eat me. And he doesn't also, by riding on the tiger, he wouldn't know where the tiger is taking him. So some of these people, because they had huge facilities from the bank, they were not knowing what to do. They left the country. So as I said, again, NMC and big impact on the business here. Now, how do you see the banking sector performing in the coming years? We have 52 international, local and international banks here, of which 22 are, in the local banks here. The international banks. Now, if you look at UK, which has got 70 million population, and they have got 12 banks here. Here we have got around 10 million population. We have got around 52 banks. That's exactly the reason you would see a lot of those banks will start merging. And you have already seen a couple of banks, maybe more than 4, 5, 6 banks merging. And every merger will have 25 to 30% of the people losing the job. But there's a consolidation happening on one side, the OPEX coming down. On the other side, there is a huge digitalization happening. And which is, if you see, thanks to the pandemic, or maybe because of that one, I think number of people visiting the banks have come down significantly. They are moving into the digital banking system. People depending on the branches are coming less and less on a daily basis. So the number of branches they're going to cut will be again, they will cut down on that one. So moving forward, I look at the economy to bounce back, because we are looking at maybe next to 3 months, 4 months time, when UAE will be a completely vaccinated place. There will be a lot and more people wanting to come to this place. I have incorporated around 5 to 6 companies last month alone. They just want to move in and move their residents here in the UAE. They just heard about from different parts of the world. They are calling from UK, wherever it is. People are wanting to they would like to be in the UAE. That is the way the infrastructure has been built. That is the way the leadership is taking care of this country. So I would see more and more companies are coming in. I'm also to talk about the compliance. Maybe 3-4 years back, to open up a bank account, it was so easy. You could just walk across. That there was no KYC. Of course, there were, but not to that extent now. As we see it now, the banks could open the bank account today. If you open up a branch, or if you open up a company in the UAE, you got to go through a very lengthy procedure, because a complete AML KYC has to be done before the account is opened. So you got a clean set of companies coming in. So that way we will make sure that there aren't any more such incidences happening. So the future is bright. There is the credit insurance, which is in this market, is again another area which is gaining momentum here. Factoring again gaining momentum here. Most of the banks have now started looking into securitize or tangible security collateral before they start lending. I think it is maybe a few more months down the line, bankers will have more confidence when they see what exactly is happening, because they don't know at what level things are going to. So I'm hopeful that maybe in 6 months down the line, the banking industry will also start lending more money to the SME. SMEs today are 4% or 5% of the companies get the financing. Rest do not get, because of this reason, because of the governance, because of the compliance, because of the precedents that has been set. I think we are moving into a right direction. And with this, I would like to thank once again IBMC for this opportunity. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to take that one. Thank you so much. You're muted. You're muted.
Thank you, Mr. James Matthew, for your wonderful, the detailed, the explanation on trade and finance system in this changing economic scenario. So we were, 2017 onwards, we were heading for non-oil sector diversification activities. Then after that, suddenly the COVID happened, and this pandemic situation came up. And this all changing this GCC economy in a redefined model. So as you said clearly, the non-oil sector diversification programs are happening, and this 100% of the ownership already provided from UAE government. A lot of things are happening up. But considering that the international legal framework or regulatory framework, we are hearing that the banking system is also coming up in a digitization way. That's good. But where do you think the non-oil economy, if we say that other countries, they are the depending banks is very less from the corporate level. So, however, the new things are coming up, like the listing with stock exchanges, and the working capital generation ways are different. So, or if we say that the regulatory framework from the startup to MNC, there is a roadmap for that. So whether it is lacking in this part of the region, what is your views on that? If we say that a clear focus of, when people are starting the startup, it is coming to that, the formation of the partnership. Maybe it is coming to the LLC company, then it is coming to the PJSC, and it is a listing and international listing. So this this entire cycle of the regulatory framework, whether the GCC countries, especially UAE, should focus more into that and making a clarity on that, especially NBFC matter. So that should come up into that. So coming to that, those the people are international companies are going to come here, and they are eager to come here, considering the Expo 2021 and all, lot of opportunities. Now double opportunities are providing by UAE. So one is the non-oil sector diversification program. Second is the pandemic came up and it came to the negative level. That is also coming into a better level. UAE is going to take a lead. So question is this: no, the regulatory framework, whether it is very much clear in this part of the world or not.
Okay, thank you, Sajid. I think just forgot to mention that one. The startups here, see, unlike in the US or in India, say, for example, two markets, I can tell you, people do not actually see a value in the startups. They think, they do not really trust here. If you look at any high net worth individual, you ask him to invest into a startup, he wouldn't say. He would not want, because he wants to see a tangible thing. He wants to see a real estate thing. He wants to do something which he can see it for, or maybe a running company. But if you look at the US market, if you look at the Indian market, there people are investing and they know that they will definitely pick up. So I think there are many ways. If you see the recent announcements where they can Nasdaq Dubai, where they can list, and you not necessarily you can go in and list only the outside. You can list, SME companies can list, and because why are the people not going into normal unlisted company? Because why are they not going? Because they are not comfortable. They don't know what is happening. And a listing regulator is very strict on this one. I sit on the board of some of the companies, the type of audits, and you know it very well, that the number of compliances which you have to, boxes you have to tick during the monthly, weekly, quarterly, and sort of thing on it. So that is the trust the people will have on the listed companies. So I think the message is very clear. Here, slowly the market is changing. People are, because there are more and more Westerners, more and more people from developed world are coming. They are seeing value for the startup. I'm sure there are startups will start gaining momentum here. People will start getting the trust from there. I think it will get in there.
Actually, we are getting that now the questions about they need a clarity on that 100% ownership in land already provided. Similar way that 100% ownership they can hold in free zone as well. So what is the difference between this, free zone 100% ownership and the land level 100% ownership? What is your views on that?
So 100% ownership was announced a few months back, and in which it's not that you come in and you set up a small business here and you take the 100% ownership. There are around 122 levels of licensing requirements, which type of companies which they allow. And each of these licensing, they have set apart X number of capital. This is the amount of capital which they have to set it up. The retail companies, this is a X 100 million, manufacturing company, like that. There are quite a few, restrictions they have come through, because they do not want anybody who coming here and set up a 100% ownership and there's something wrong and then run away from here. Because obviously there would be a UAE nationals, presence will also be there as a service agent. So that's where I just want to bring in, there is a clarity which is yet to come on. Yes, it is clear, but then people think that, from around the world, people are asking, okay, why not I set up a 100% ownership? Now, it's not going to be that way. Okay, each case has to be seen. Each case has to be seen based on the activity. Certain licenses, they do not allow to be 100% because they do not want that way to happen.
And again, about that audit level, you were mentioning clearly that the VAT came up and the excise duty came up, and this is very well, regulating the market. Where do you see that how these kind of the compliance or due diligence activities are giving much confidence level to the international business people?
So I would say today I use the word level playing ground in my talk before. UK with a 20 or 22% VAT, around the world you have got value added tax there. They just simply, they can't believe that we don't have any sort of taxes here. And if you look at the way the collection, 24-25 billion dirhams of collections which has been done, if you are running a business, basically it is not affecting you because your input output difference. But a consumer, yes, it is, whoever is I and you who consume these things, yes, it has gone up. But you look at the way the infrastructure has been built here, look at the way the road network which has been made, the port system has been made, the safety that we have got on it, what sort of tax we are paying on it. So there is some element of payback into the country. This is what exactly they have done with this 5%. And you would also know that between the GCC it was a 5% agreed, but then was Saudi Arabia increased to 15%, but then UAE announced that they are not going to increase it for the time being. It's going to be at, so they value that and they look at that on the possibility that. So I don't see this going to be in a big way. Of course, it has affected the re-export business. I must clarify this once again. There used to be like, in data market or maybe in electronics market, someone from Libya, someone from, maybe they come in, they buy X item from A company, Y item from B company. And when they export the goods, when they take back the goods to that country, obviously they have to use the export manifesto for one of the suppliers. So that if the goods have not gone out of the country, then obviously it is VATable, or you have to charge the 5% VAT on it. So out of the 10 suppliers from which he has sourced the goods, he might use the 10th supplier's VAT document, and in respect of the 9 suppliers, so for them it is a it is a VATable event, and then for the buyer it's a 5% increase for him, which in turn he can't sell it into maybe in his home country because he may go to a country where the VAT is not there. So there are some things which on the VAT, on the re-export side, it has been affected, but it's going to be a cleaner situation coming time.
And can you please explain about the, even though lower phase, the NBFCs are here, and like, Deem Finance, or if we say that the finance house, so that is not coming up such a level, even though that is important for the next non-oil sector era. And if we say that SME empowerment. So this NBFC side, if you say that if you are considering or comparing with the other economies, where do you see that the scope for NBFCs here?
So you could see quite a few number of NBFCs here. There was a time when there was the mainstream banks were looking at large clients where they could lend, and they left out some of the smaller companies where they have securities, but then they never used to get any sort of a finance from there. So the interest rates are high, but they have a security given, and these companies have been able to get good number of businesses. But what I get to see is some of these businesses, NBFCs businesses, have been affected very badly because they looked at those small and medium-sized companies where the risk was high. And then obviously, when you are not that every NBFC charges 15 or 20%, but if somebody is paying 18 or 20%, which business can at the end of the day, pay that sort of an interest and sustain? So obviously in the long run, they were at a risk, I would say, but then their business dynamics also has changed. So I would see in the change scenario also, they will have to, of course, there would be, as the time passed by, there would be scope for, these companies also to work on.
Definitely, see, considering that SME economy, SME-driven economy is coming up, and adding to that NBFC activities to be done in large scale, because people cannot able to depend. New companies are coming from different countries. They cannot immediately approach to a banking sector for getting all the facilities. So banks are asking that 1 year minimum, or 3 year, 5 years track record for giving any kind of facility. So the NBFC's kind of activities are important in this region. And considering to that, two other factors are also important coming to that, the SME segment, that is trade credit insurance and factoring, that is receivable finance. So where do you see that nowadays? People very well about that. The TCI, the eligibility is 5 million above that transaction, and the limit was on a higher level. However, now what is happening now? Companies are running for the business and they want to increase the turnover. So then only they can able to get the profit margin what they were getting in the oil and gas sector. Oil and gas sector, whatever they were getting that the profit margin, now they need to run 5 times. Then only they can able to take that profit. So in this scenario, the lesser volume, the higher volume, lesser transaction were happening. Nowadays, higher transaction and the volume also will be very less on that. So in that situation, so the trade credit insurance and factoring, so that has to be that the rule has to be redefined in this country. And one appreciation to what we need to give that to the government, the Etihad trade credit insurance. So they have started from 10,000 dirhams onwards, so the transaction value. So such a level, but it is not, it cannot be available for the entire market. So people does not know about that. So where do you see that these two factors, trade credit insurance and factoring is important for the companies, even though the SME driven economy is coming. That means even though the multinational companies, they need the support from the SME companies for sustainable, because the sustainability is most important. Where do you see that this gap? So where the other international trade credit insurance companies are, giving the limit to 5 million above or 50 million above, but it is not happening now. SME is happening. This gap, how to mitigate from the auditor's perspective? You are also doing that on the all classes. So how this gap can be mitigated from this country?
So Sajid, I think factoring, if you look at all the banks used to do factoring here at some point in time, HSBC or many of those banks, Mashreq, all of them were doing the factoring. Now the scenario is much better, because what has happened is, when you take a risk on a customer, whether I'm discounting the bills of an invoice of a particular, to a customer, basically I need to see how, I will be able to collect this money or not. There was an uncertainty maybe some time back. Now, what happens after the pandemic? There have been, whoever has been able to manage the situation and stay back, they are stable here. They are managing the situation. So it is easy for them to extend this credit, or maybe they can look at, okay, this customer is fine, I have no problem on it. But the problem here is, if you look at a construction company, nobody is looking to do any sort of a factoring there, because they don't want to do it, because construction company, for that matter, all the banks are exiting from here. It's not just because Arab Tech has failed or anything, because many of the banks, many of the UAE national construction companies, the bankers are saying they would like to exit from this one, because there is a huge uncertainty, because there is a timeline within which you have to complete. There's a penalty. The margins on a large contract are 2 or 3%, 4%. Today, the construction companies fight to get the business. At the end of the day, they might be losing. They might be cutting so much or undercutting themselves, because they just have to meet some fixed cost. They have got 10,000 employees. They need to be paid. They need to pay for their accommodation. They think that whatever losses I've cut in the previous contract, I can take the cash flow from the new contract and pay it off and hang on. So this is the scenario. This is a cycle which is happening. So the factoring has, at the end of the day, it is it is not has gone very well with the construction companies and many other industries. So I think going forward, given the stability of the market, given the stability of the type of customers, I would see a lot of banking, a lot of this credit insurance, and a lot of these things will promote, and I hope the market will improve on that.
Definitely, it is very much clear that the UAE is set for the global trades and finance, and the infrastructure level, such a the world number one class level of the ports, and if you say that the transportation facilities, even though sea or air, so all the business atmosphere is making such a easiest way from UAE. And one more last question. So in this changing economic scenario, we know that so all kind of nearly, if it is coming that 36 plus sectors are coming whenever it's the non-oil sector concern, and nearly 70, and IBMC had done for the past 3 years the research on that. So the 17 sectors is suitable, immediately it will be taking off from UAE. And as an industry leader for the past 30 plus years you are here, and you know very well about you can guide the existing the business class and the international business class who all are looking to start the business from here, the best industry practices to be followed during this changing economic scenario. So what are our suggestions do you have?
Okay, so I think we will have to learn from the past. Across the board, when I see a failure of a business, it is because there could be so many reasons. One, they have no adequate planning. There could be he is jumping into a business which he has no idea because he doesn't know the business. And these are a couple of areas where they lose on it. Now, many a times I've seen that people do not come with that much amount of capital to be invested into the business. They think that Dubai is a place or UAE is a place they can make money, because everything revolves around trust. If I know Sajid and I speak to Sajid, Sajid is able to help me out on it. You might be able to give me one container of goods. And then I do the same thing with this one. So people without the formal or a cap, they got the form of capital, they come on to the business, and then that is one of the reasons why I would say that companies fail because of that one. So that is a lack of adequate planning. And second thing is management. I've seen many of the businesses, they lose the focus because UAE follows a head mentality. Because if X is done invested into real estate, okay, let me also do a real estate. Y has got into supermarket business, let me also do a Y business in a supermarket business. These are moving away from his comfort zones and getting into a business. And this is an easy place. This place is like that. You can afford to make it go wrong at any point in time. So if you have a strong second line in command, if the fundamentals are correct, and if a financial adequacy is there, and heavily people, borrow money, leverage too much, because there are 50 plus banks here sitting with huge liquidity, and there are people in the market who can tell you, okay, I can get you this much amount of money, and this is from the bank, and that's the beginning of your trouble. So I think there is a certain element of financial discipline one has to follow, with irrespective of the fact that whether the finance is available in your doorstep. That's all I would say at this point in time.
Fine. And Mr. James Matthew, one more thing. You were mentioning about the discipline. So not only financial discipline, actually business discipline is most important. And you were also sitting the board of the Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum Business Award and Sheikh Khalifa Excellence Award. So these all models they are providing from UAE side. So how we can able to convey that message, how it will be supportive, because that model is very, very successful model from the lower to higher level. So, so whenever and anybody can able to approach for that. So what is your views or guidance to the business people, even though they are located in UAE or outside UAE, for following this model, business model, and it is also coming into the financial HR, even though all system is structured in that model. So what is your views on that, or what kind of guidance you have to focus into this MRM and SKIA and giving that the guidance to the public?
So Sajid, before I get into that, I would like to say, I think every CEO, every business enterprise has to have a bit of finance in their head, because finance is very, very important. Because I have seen people who will say, okay, I have received 5 million dirhams from a customer in advance, as advance. He says that this money is my bank, this is my money. He doesn't appreciate the fact that he has to buy the goods and supply the goods to him. Then only this money belongs to him, and that is not the entire money. He has to pay for the supplier also. So the basic understanding of finance and the wearing that hat is very important for any business owner. You cannot just completely be naive about the finance part. That has to be there. The models, EFQM model, and there are so many other models which is being used by all this award, all this in their assessment. I wanted to just say the leadership qualities, the innovation, how you treat your employees. There are quite a few number of things which is being talked about it, while you run a company.
Yeah. I was asking that the model which is providing by the government, this is the model giving to the public, the business people to understand and to follow.
Yeah. This is what exactly. There's a model which has been, there's a lot of training which is being given on to them. So this model, it also gives you about, how you assess yourself, how you see your on your business, looking at different approach, line of command, second line of command, looking after, the HR side, the innovative side, all those areas are looked into it. Okay, performance is also has to be looked at, but this is where exactly someone has to look at the time of business, in the business.
Yeah. So I would like to invite His Excellency Humaid bin Salam also in this scenario when the talk came up into that serious level. People and from outside the business class eagerly waiting to come here and taking the advice, even though from the UAE Chambers, the Federation of UAE Chambers. So 7 Emirates, wherever they want, they will get it. And as a one point of contact, so if they are approaching the Federation of UAE Chambers, so what will be your advice into that?
Thank you, Sajid. Thank you very much, and thank you, James, for your information. I agree with you. Sometimes the finance people and the banks are conservatives a little bit. That's fine, because I worked in a bank a long time ago. I understand that. One thing I would like to elaborate a little bit, if you allow me, is UAE is always will be appealing for many reasons. As James said, the infrastructures and the banking system, the easy of doing business. And I have to emphasize on one thing. What made UAE is very great since the establishment, since Sheikh Zayed established the United Arab Emirates, and the leadership now is following that path. The good relation, either politics or business, with many of the countries of the world, that is a distinguished thing to have. For example, we see this as when we have delegations. Either we receive delegation from other countries or we travel to other countries. The good relation of the United Arab Emirates having with mostly all the countries in the world, that's a good thing, even to help businesses. James mentioned something about export and re-export. When you have a good relation with other countries, it helps business, and it helps this re-exporting or importing from these countries also. For example, UAE has showed through tough times, when tough times affecting all the world, UAE stand out. 2008, we did it. Now, for example, to give you just a good example of our great work of our leadership and government, UAE is providing all vaccines from all countries. This is a good thing, reflecting the good relation with other countries. And also exporting and re-exporting. We always talk about the MENA region, the Middle East and North Africa. We're talking about approximately about 3 billion people to reach with 4 hours of flying. The airports, the banking system, the incentives of the government, where the leadership have given incentives either to individual or to businesses in the last in this time of COVID is tremendous. It's great. We always say, okay, we are a part of the world. What's affecting everybody, we are a part of the world. We're not isolated ourselves from anybody else. But I think with as James also mentioned something of the initiatives. So UAE is known with the people. When I say UAE, I mean everybody. I mean the leadership, the government, us, yourself, everybody in the United Arab Emirates. Not just local, not just one nationality, everybody who's living here and who's associated with the United Arab Emirates. I think also the private sector has a role to play itself with all the incentives. If they don't take the initiatives, if they don't take the initiative to shift some of their work or adapt a new way of doing digitalization, fourth industrial revolution, blockchain, disruptive thinking, whatever it is, they have to do that. And they have to find out what's the best for themselves. If the country is providing everything to them, then there is a part on the individual and on the company to play. If there is anything we can help as the Chamber of Commerce, either to reach to the government or to facilitate, that's what we are supposed to do, and that's what we are doing. We are facilitating for the private sector. We are always at your disposal. One example, we're not just talking just now. We are pledged and we are committed always to the private sector. One example is our work with IBMC. This is an example, okay? They are private sector. We facilitate for the private sector, and we do this only to help people, to help businesses. That's all. We are not after. Most of the time what we do is get people together, help them to establish their business or to have to cooperate with other, have joint venture, or to make their easy to do their business, whether in United Arab Emirates or to re-export from the UAE also. That's all we say. We are very glad that we have transparency in doing things. You can look at even over the internet, and you see how UAE is ranked. This is international institutions, and there's international well-established institutions are saying that. And one thing make us really trustworthy, I think, when it comes to doing business, is we are willing to adapt to new ideas as long as it is for the good sake of the businesses. That's all I want to say. Thank you very much, and I appreciate this. And it's good to communicate. It's good to talk. That's sometimes when you bring something on the table, it doesn't have to be totally true. It doesn't have to be my voice or my point of view is 100% totally true. Maybe it is 80%, 70%. So give and take. By doing this, I think this is a very healthy negotiation, very healthy talks when it comes to business. Business, as they say, they are very courageous. They are very upcoming. They don't wait, and they don't go through lots of bureaucracy and everything. They say what's in their mind, and they are willing to adopt, and we support that. And thank you again very much.
Thank you, sir. And we are also very much glad to participate with UAE Federation of UAE Chambers, and we are getting a lot of advice and communicating a lot of information to the public internationally. We are connected with 50+ countries nowadays. So and enhancing all this kind of information, and special thanks to His Excellency Humaid bin Salam and giving that leadership, that is most important. So it is very much clear that this first industry presentation is giving the confidence level to the global business class that UAE is providing this 5 level of the great services. One is the government leadership quality. You will be getting all business class are availing, and the new people can also avail on that. Second is economic leadership, that industry sector-wise support. Industry support, it's also coming, like your Federation of UAE Chambers are also taking that lead into that. Third is the infrastructure facilities. That leadership is also coming up. Fourth is banking and financial services, even though onshore or offshore, if we say that DAFC, ATGM, and on the offshore side and the ground level, all the financial service activities are coming up, and startup to MNC. So all of this, the levels we can able to experience from this region, and we are very much thankful to Mr. James Matthew, and he is one of the leaders in the financial service industry from UAE, and for giving this wonderful session, that is trade and finance system. That is challenging actually this session, taking this session itself in this changing economic scenario. Thank you once again, Mr. James Matthew, for your kind presentation, and it was very much informative. And this will be carrying in our different media, and it will be reaching this information to business class. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, His Excellency, as well, Mr. Sheikh, as well. Thank you so much, all the panelists. Thank you so much.
So I would like to invite the industry expert for our next industry presentation. That presentation on global road to recovery, economic outlook for trade and finance. So Mr. Ahmed Said Ali, he is heading as a CEO for Bearbull Global Investment Group from DIFC. Please welcome Mr. Ahmed Said Ali. Mr. Ahmed, your microphone is on mute.
My apologies. I was thanking you for the opportunity, and I'm very glad. Very good afternoon to you all. Good afternoon to all the panelists, His Excellency Sheikh Khalid Al Hamed, His Excellency Humaid bin Salim, and all participants to this call. I'm very glad to share the panel also with Mr. Matthew. Really very great insight, very great input from both participants, and I am really thankful for the presentation and the intervention, which clearly sheds some interesting light on what lies ahead for the UAE, its leadership, and the way to recovery. A brief introduction about myself and Bearbull Global Investments Group. I'm the CEO of Bearbull Global Investments Group. We are one of the largest independent wealth and asset managers based in the DIFC. We also have a multi-family office platform, which is catering to the needs of ultra high net worth individuals, entrepreneurs in the UAE and the wider region. My introduction will focus, I will take a more broader view, if you allow me to start with, about the global investment climate and health situation, and I will follow with some update on financial markets. And then I will share with you our main convictions for the global economy and our macroeconomic scenario for the United Arab Emirates. Well, as we all know, this year began with renewed optimism, hopes on health front, which is gradually being confronted, unfortunately, with more worrying reality globally in the UAE, in Europe, and also in the United States. The often mentioned and much feared second wave has slowly materialized, and its scale is pushing many governments to revise their health strategies by implementing, once again, travel restrictions while promoting aggressive vaccination campaigns. And it should be noted that the UAE is at the forefront of these efforts. As we speak, the country has vaccinated roughly 34% of its population, which is a great milestone, even in comparison with other mature economies such as UK, where the vaccination rate stands at 13.5%, the US roughly 9%, France is at 2.5%, and Germany at 2.7%. So this is a great milestone for the UAE, and definitely that paves the way for a healthy recovery in the year to come. From a financial market standpoint, for the time being, we are noting that the COVID-19 factor is unfortunately not being properly priced in the financial markets and with the same magnitude as we see it in the real economy. But we have to bear in mind that the Pfizer, Moderna, Sinopharm announcements regarding the exceptional efficacy ratio of their vaccines have already been sufficient to reassure investors regarding the probable end of the pandemic. Even if one agrees that it will take several quarters for the vaccination campaign to reach enough people to allow the return to normalization of our lives and our society, that's already a very positive development. The start of this year was also the scene for major political upheavals in the US, as well as in Europe, which had significant impact on financial markets. First of all, major uncertainties were removed in the US by the election of the Democratic candidate, which is likely to bring more visibility to the government strategy as to what will be the US government strategy over the course of the coming years. And in short term, we expect the Biden's administration to guarantee a more decisive support for the global economy and the American population, thanks to his willingness to support growth and energy transition in particular by increasing government spending. The energy transition is something that will obviously be of concern to us in the region. And I think it's very important to bear in mind that we cannot have our economies relying solely on oil and gas exports. And the steps that the UAE government is taking clearly demonstrate that the knowledge of the leadership about that fact. And definitely the UAE is again at the forefront of diversification when it comes to its economy when compared to other GCC countries. In Europe, the withdrawal of the veto on the recovery package that was obtained by the German Chancellor is also an essential step forward that finally marks the beginning of implementation of economic support measures decided 6 months ago approximately. And in the US and in Europe, economic recovery will be achieved through support for the energy transition. Last minute agreement that has been achieved with regards to the Brexit on the 31st of December last year also puts an end to another significant uncertainty for the global economy, even though, in our opinion, the British government and people have certainly not yet measured the consequences of this event in the long run on the UK economy. And finally, in the Asia Pacific, which is a region that is much closer to us, free trade agreement that has been implemented opens new prospects for regional development, which in our opinion will be very beneficial for the UAE. In addition, the Biden's presidency was also more favorable to global trade when we compare it to the previous administration. And that is also another positive development for a country like the UAE, where we rely heavily on tourism and trade. And therefore, the start of this year has clearly been favorable to global trade and finance by reducing the political and geopolitical uncertainties. On the other hand, new fiscal and monetary policies create a new paradigm in which central bank and governments broadly support their economies to maintain the global trade levels. And we believe that this trend will last and provide many investors with assurance that interest rates will remain persistently low, and liquidity will be provided to support the expansion of financial markets, global trade, and valuation multiples when it comes to the financial markets. However, I think it is important to caution that the fact that the risky assets that we deal with in the banking sector are probably a bit ahead of themselves, and one has to be cautious when it comes to asset allocation. What we can expect for the global economy going forward? I think, first of all, for the first quarter of this year, our view is that the growth prospects will be, obviously, in light of what I was referring to, pandemic issues, will be slower than expected because of the second wave of the COVID. And in most countries, health regulations, even though they're certainly well respected, the virus is still spreading at a rapid pace. And the risk of a more severe lockdowns are still present, and the outlook for the first quarter is therefore likely to be revised. We anticipate a weaker than expected global economic recovery in Q1 because of the risks that I just highlighted. But on a more positive note, in Q2, we should already see signs of normalization in the economy and the economic activity and acceleration in the economic recovery, driven by recovery in consumption, reduction of savings, and also resuming global trade and broader economic recovery. So our outlook for the remaining of 2021 remains solid, and we expect the world GDP to grow by 5 to 6%. And the economic support measures already announced are likely to develop further their effects in the coming year. China, which is an important trading partner for the UAE, is likely to come out of the health crisis in a much stronger economic position, in particular by reducing its gap with the US by nearly 10%. And it will assert further its position as the world's second largest economy. Between 2020 and 2021, the Chinese economy is expected to grow by 10%. India is also expected to have a very strong growth rate in the coming years. The consensus is ranging between 8 and 11%. And these developments in our region, immediate region, will obviously benefit the UAE and attract more Chinese and Indian business and trade to the country. The situation in the Western countries is likely to start to normalize also in the second quarter of this year. And again, countries like UK, France, Switzerland, where I'm coming from, are obviously important trading partners for the UAE, and that will also further lift the economic sentiment in the UAE and benefit for the country's growth. Now, from as far as the UAE is concerned, our economy seemingly started to recover in the fourth quarter of last year, after the first half of the years, where we basically witnessed a sharp contraction because of the global pandemic, and obviously its adverse effects on the main pillars of our economy. In December, the PMI indexes moved back into positive and expansionary territory by increasing to 51 points in December. And the latest PMI readings represent the best in record for the year 2020, which again makes us believe that this paves the way for a healthy recovery to take shape further in 2021. And this will be also helped by the country's remarkable efforts and basically rolling out a very holistic vaccination campaign. And looking forward, we really expect the UAE economy to grow at a much faster pace. So last year, we had our economy contracting by 6.6%. For this year, we expect the UAE economy to grow by 1.5 to 3%. Do you have any questions so far?
That's great, Mr. Ahmed. And considering that you were mentioning about the first half of 2021 will be recovery mode, and the second half will be into the solid growth level. So if we see that the the IMF and World Bank outlook 2020, it came out focusing 2021 the growth, especially the world output is going to happen from minus 4.4 to plus 5.2. So the Gulf market is also going to give in a good supportive measures in the growth of the world output. If we say that UAE to 1.3 and you are expecting the 1.5 to 3 level, and the Saudi Arabia was from the minus to 3.1, then Qatar is 2.5, Oman is 0.5, and Kuwait 0.6, and Qatar 2.5. So it is very much clear that so all indication is showing that the business supportive measures are coming in, and government level supports are also taking up. The business trade and finance perspective. So you are located at Dubai International Financial Center, DIFC. So from DIFC point of view, for how they are supportive for the trade and finance for the business class, international business class.
Well, I think we still have a long way to go. I cannot speak on behalf of the DIFC. I speak on behalf of our entity and what we see broadly around the DIFC and the banking sector. I think we still have a long way to go in our efforts in supporting the SMEs, because most of the SMEs are lacking access to finance, and that's something that really needs to be addressed. For instance, just to give you a simple example, we have been recently engaging with banks, because we were trying to raise some capital for one of our multifamily office clients who has a business that has been thriving for the last 7 years and growing in very high double digits each year. Yeah. And when it came to securing funding for growth funding for this entity, well, basically, despite the very strong balance sheet of the client and the company and everything, basically we end up with a proposal from banks, which is, okay, do you have any property to mortgage? And that is not the way funding to SMEs should work and the way it should be implemented, because at the end of the day, it is the bank's responsibility to have the right set of competences on board to assess the real underlying risk of each and every SME, and to lend to the company, and not by taking hostage the owner of the company or its properties or whatsoever, right? Because if you want to provide, because at the end of the day, what is the main engine of the economy, and in the UAE, we're lucky to have many entrepreneurs and people who are very at the forefront of business, and as His Excellency mentioned, they are courageous people. They take risks, they try to develop their businesses, and they need proper support from the banking and financial sector in order to thrive. And to this aim, it is also very important for banks to be able to basically assess the risk associated to a specific business, rather than just tying everything back again to the property or personal guarantees.
Right. So DIFC definitely they are providing the international banking facility. That is most important. The any country, that is any business people community can able to come and they can avail their own banking system locally. That is the important factor what it's attracting DIFC in UAE. So if people are coming from India, Indian banks are all there. If from UK banks are there. So any part of the world people are coming, that is the most attractive thing for DIFC and the DIFC's role in GCC, especially from UAE. So, and on the other side, you are rightly mentioning that. So for a mortgage or for the loan, now the bank loans or this kind of what the credit facilities setting off with alternative funds and PE funds. So how what is your views on that? So now people will not move for the banking loans or any other facilities. That is clearly set off from this DIFC kind of activities where the alternative investment fund route or the PE fund route and all other the facilities are coming in. Can you please explain about that, those activities from DIFC?
Can you just please be more specific about your question? I just want to make sure.
Right. So actually, setting of the business approaching for bank loans. So instead of that approaching and for the fund setting up funds. So even though the AIF funds or PE funds and the mobilizing the funds for their business.
Obviously, there are many private equity funds that has been implemented and they're operating out of the DIFC. And they are investing in early stage businesses and later stage businesses or even mature businesses. When it comes to equity, I think we have a good base of investors who are willing to take risk and support businesses. My point was really pertaining to the financing side, because obviously if the funding has to come from the private sector rather than the banking sector, obviously the rates and the underlying conditions that go along with that loan will be sensibly not in favor of the companies, and it is not gonna really sustain their growth in the long run, because at the end of the day, it is very important for each and every company to generate enough cash flow to sustain its development over the long run and not be subject to very heavy financial cost and cost of carry.
Perfect. And one more thing, I saw that the BBGI group initiated UAE's first private banking indices. So can you please explain about that, how it is rating?
Yes, of course. Well, basically, when it comes to wealth management, our mentality has always been to provide greater transparency. And as Mr. Matthew was mentioning earlier, we are one of the most overbanked countries in the world. And still, when it comes to transparency, most investors lack the tools to really decide whether their wealth managers have provided them with the right set of returns on a regular basis. And if today you're a private bank client and your relationship manager comes to you and says at the end of the year, okay, Sajid, last year we achieved 5% return on your medium risk portfolio, you have no means in verifying whether that performance was in line with the market, if your relationship manager or your bank underperformed or overperformed the market. So these are tools that we had already implemented in Switzerland, and they are being widely used by Swiss pension funds and Swiss private banking clients. And we thought it would be very important to have the same approach and provide the same level of transparency for UAE-based clients or UAE-based investors. And that is why we have created the Variable Private Banking Indices, which is a family of very transparent indices, which will be published on a monthly basis. And that will, and basically the way we have designed it, like each and every financial institution will have broadly 3 levels of risk, portfolio risk when it comes to wealth management: low risk, medium risk, and dynamic. So we have created representative indices for each class of risk. And that will enable the UAE investors as well as the broader GCC investors to really closely benchmark the performance of their assets in the long run and really take a corrective course of action or decisions if they decide or they think that the performances that they are being provided with are not in line with the broader market expectation. Because our index is just based on global indices, which are publicized on a regular basis and even daily priced. So basically, that is giving a great tool and great deal of transparency to investors in the UAE.
And that's great. So can you please give or your advice on the best industry practices on the private banking or private sector, the financing aspect?
Well, again, I think I heard the word honesty and trust many times during this event, and I couldn't agree more. I think any business has to be based on trust, has to be based on the fact that we all need and must create long-term relationship with our clients, really work as to how we can really best serve our clients' needs. And unfortunately, what we still see in many financial institutions is that you have the mentality is rather to sell products than buying products that make sense for the client, because we all see those metrics of client-centric approach, etc. But in fact, what happens in most cases that once the client finds himself in the middle of that matrix, then he's force-fed with products that are beneficial for the bank and not really for the client. So I think the question of suitability and proper assessment of risk, because just to give you an example, I mean, at the beginning of last year, all my clients were approaching me and saying, well, why is my portfolio not leveraged, or if it is leveraged, it's too low, because all my friends have 3 times leverage. And it is very hard to explain, but this in this particular case, my my discussion evolved about a very simple fact. If I double the leverage on any client portfolio, it takes me one press of a button to increase the leverage ratio, right? From 20% to 100%, for example. And guess what? By doing that, I'm doubling my management fees as well. So if me as your banker, I'm telling you not to leverage, you should, as a client, be willing and able to listen that there are times that you have to be bullish and there are times that you have to be bearish. And again, at the start of this year, our view is again that financial markets are probably ahead of themselves. It is very important to remain cautious, not to go along with the FOMO, and try to really preserve the capital, because at the end of the day, I think the duty of any wealth manager is not to make their clients rich. First, the first duty is to preserve the capital and then grow it over time. Because if you invested $10 million with me and the next year I come and say, okay, Mr. Sajid, we lost 50% of your money in the stock market. To get back to the break even, I need to perform 100% return, deliver a 100% return, which potentially is very hard to achieve. So the first and foremost duty of a wealth manager is to preserve the capital, because all the clients that we have are entrepreneurs, they are members of Royal Family, all of them have worked very hard throughout their lives to save funds, and basically these are the funds that are required for the next generation to keep their legacy in place. And it's very important to first think capital preservation and then basically grow the capital over time, because the principle of compounded interest will kick in, and that is extremely powerful over the long run.
Great. So I would like to invite essentially Humaid bin Salam just for getting your comment on global road to recovery. Actually, Mr. Ahmed Said Ali was commenting on that. So what is your views on that? And Mr. Ahmed Said Ali was saying that, the first half of 2021 will be recovery mode, and second half will be fully into the growth enable mode we can able to see in 2021. So your view, please, sir.
Well, thank you, Ahmed, for all the information. It's really, I would like just to say, and I couldn't agree with you more when you said about telling the client about leveraging, and nobody wants to make money more than any financial institution, whatever, a bank or anything. That's what they exist for. But when a bank is saying this, that means I myself should respect this bank and should know that this gentleman is telling me this, or this bank is telling me this, is very trustworthy. This is one thing. The other thing is, I don't like to speculate. I cannot say, first quarter, second quarter. That's maybe not my field to do that. But I think with taking all this in consideration, the numbers, the next year will be a very good and very healthy year. That's for sure. As I mentioned earlier, when the companies and the businesses are willing to listen to the financial advisor and willing to listen to and even being flexible to maybe move from one product to adopt a new initiatives, and to take risks in maybe new field, or some field that they have little experience than other services or whatever. I think businesses should look at this, the future, as there are so many opportunities, and there are so many chances for them to grow with a little bit of reconciliation, as they say. I'm very optimistic. I am very, very, very optimistic, and I think the future is good. Adopting, like what's happened in the United Arab Emirates, adopting the new technology to use, like what we're doing right now. I think this will help a lot. This will make the distance shorter between clients and between facilitators and between advisor and everybody else. Now you can get the same services where in 20, 30 years or 15 years, you had to get it next door. That time you had to get this next door or in your office. Now you can get the same services online. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter where your business is located. I think using this technology will help. Very optimistic again. And thank you, Ahmed, for the information again.
Thank you, sir. And thank you, Mr. Ahmed Saidali. It was very much clear that your views on the global road to recovery, and now the first half recovery and second half is a solid growth, and we are looking for the optimistic economic outlook of, in trade and finance. And considering that DAFC, during that our discussion, we were mentioning that the global players can able to come to UAE and they can avail DAFC or ADGM, this three level of services. First is international banking practices, they can able to get it for the business, any kind of business, and international compliance and due diligence practices they can able to avail from the ADGM or DAFC. Then international recognition will be getting into that. It is very much clear. Thank you once again, Mr. Ahmed Saidali, for your wonderful presentation.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Next, I would like to invite Advocate Binoy Shashi. We need to cover UAE legal frameworks for trade, business, and investment supports from UAE. So, Advocate Binoy Shashi, he is the international lawyer from Dubai International Financial Center Court. Please welcome Mr. Advocate Binoy Shashi.
Yes, good afternoon, my friends. I think it is the right time to enter the matter of legal system of UAE. First of all, I want to tell about the legal system, how the laws are framed by the government. The UAE is one of the most example, a country in the globe that going the right way, a right path in the legal system. Because the legal system for new laws framed by any country only from this circumstances, from the past history, from the experience, because that is the usage of law. How the law is implemented, how the laws are framed by a government, definitely it is for a society. So looking back and take what is the result of the existing laws, or where to be get new amendments. So in this matter, UAE, from my experience, because I have license to appear all courts of in India, I have a license to appear in the International Court of Paris, Arbitration Court. So obviously I am settled here for Dubai International Finance Center Court. From my experience from the different countries, the UAE is very fast, very fast. Within 24 hours or within hours, UAE implement the laws from the past, the experience. Main concern regarding the business, because the most of the what are the aspects in the business and how to do business, that is left with the business persons. From the legal perspectives, I would like to say that there are two chances for a business. Either business will win or business will lose. Business will, if the investors or the business persons approach a lawyer or legal firm only when the business comes to the loss. If business comes to the gain, in the last experience from the UAE, majority of the cases comes in the UAE courts relating to the partners dispute. Partnership means here there are sleeping partners, working partners. Same time there is a UAE local as a sponsor. Legally, they are holding 15% of shares of the company. But we know that, in fact, they are only a mere sponsors. So that what the investors are doing, they are going to be signing supplementary agreement. After supplementary agreement, what we are saying that there are two contracts. One is for the true contract, other one is for the dummy contract. That means we are investing money, actual money by the business person or foreigner, and the UAE local only a sponsor. Sometimes there is dispute arise between some families after death of the sponsor or some of his absence. So many factors are there to a dispute when the company grows and reaches to a next level. So different situations are there arising from the different contracts. That is generally I am speaking. Lot of cases that now the government look upon this matter and increasing to give increase the confidence level of the business person to invest in UAE. The questions come to the framing of the new laws. Now recently, the new laws framed by the UAE is a turning point of UAE. One is you can start business here in the mainland without a local sponsor. Secondly, so that there is sky is your limit. Whatever the money you can invest, you can invest. There is no other hurdles for you or fear from that. Secondly, suppose you invest here, you lose the money. Maybe it doesn't happen. Before that, though there's a new law, bankruptcy law, UAE bankruptcy law all adopted, and insolvency law all adopted. Before that, the scenario is the investors here in UAE mainly approaching the banks for raising their funds. As we know that the assets of the liquidity for the loan, maybe their existing capital or existing business only. There is no other assets that the foreigners will not have. So definitely banks are taking the security check for their protection of the loan. 90% of the business here, from my experience, I found that they lost the establishment because of return of security check. That everybody know that. One or two EMI, maybe sometimes they cannot pay. Some business investments, establishments will happen. Definitely bank will put a security check for their safety. So legally they want to save their money. So we cannot blame for them, but say what is actually happening during the security check, they put a blacklisted. This person will be in big trouble, cannot run the business using his company license or his company assets. So before that, some persons will escape from here, exit from here, sit in other countries, and remotely try to control the business. So it is not come to success. So a lot of business establishments here now anything legally collapsed because of this check return issue. So government seriously interfere in this matter and studied the matter, and the government adopted a new law that is called the UAE bankruptcy law. In this bankruptcy law, if you look into bankruptcy law, you can see there are three procedures that a business entity can serve legally: by preventive measure, by restructuring, or by liquidation. In these all aspects,
Mute. So, Bino, you are, yeah, correct.
okay. So this is a very good opportunity and a good window for the business person to take the risk in the UAE for starting the business. Same time now recently we know that so UAE come to another steps. They are offering citizenship to the investors. I think this will lead UAE in the world as a business hub for investors hub, because all infrastructure is here, facilities here, law is here, all are there. Now only remaining is citizenship. Now that is going to allow. That means going to be 100% perfect. So it will take the country into the another next level. I think it will no other countries cannot beat the UAE in future, because persons everybody in the world, they are looking to come to UAE. If more investments come, if they are only say okay tomorrow I want to go back, so that means this is a one negative point when considering with the huge investors. Now that also problems could be get solved. Same time, the beautiful of this legal system of UAE is caring about the law for the billionaires and billionaires. Same time, UAE is caring same law for the person having 1,000 dirhams. If a person have a skill and he has the knowledge of business, but he only have 1,000 dirhams in hand, no problem. You can go and open an e-commerce company license. You can start business. So ranging from here to 1,000 dirham to billion, the law is framed accordingly. Is the beautiful of the legal system of UAE. So that means my request or my advice to the business persons, very important of UAE here is law and compliance. Don't jump into the business without nothing, like jacket, because here nobody has to control yourself. You all have to be controlled by yourself. So your decision is very important for taking business. Majority of the business person here might fail or might lose the money. So that, but because they are coming to UAE, they don't know what is the law. They don't know how the procedures happen, and they will go to the wrong way or wrong decisions. That means their money will also be this UAE. After that, you cannot blame the country, because it is your mistake, your fault that you study the law. You know the law, or you don't know the compliance. So the professional chartered accountants and professional business persons, consultants are here to help you how to invest your money, how to make a project report, and how to go through. Same time, legal panel also there. So I appreciate that IPMC is a platform for the persons, the investors for getting their professionals from here, both the compliance and the legal. So it is an opportunity now, because after Corona, that in the UAE is going to be number one for country, same for them from recovery. Also, we are mark our our significant remark in this history that high fast. It also fast. So this 2021, as my colleagues here mentioned that the market is going to open and opportunity is more. So my advice to all my investors or the business persons, you go start now. It is at the right time for you to start operation in UAE. Nothing to worry about the legal system. It is very strong and safe, and it is very transparent also. So this is my suggestions in this.
Right. Advocate Binoy rightly said that, in 2008, we had seen what was happening. People were jumping for, in 2004 onwards, if we say 2002 onwards, jumping for business. So they were getting that huge margin. And then they realized that there is no system on that. So then they made their own systems. Then they found that that system is not, in tune with the regulation. So then the collapse happened. So it was very much clear that our studies, as very much we shared a lot of compliance and legal case studies to the business class. So coming to that, so the question, UAE. So if people are coming from outside, the business people, there are two legal framework. So one is the land, and second is the offshore. The DIFC court is coming up. So what is the difference between these two things? And the expats are coming whenever as a business class or investors, whether they can avail this the ground level and this DIFC court support also.
Yes, it's a very good question. There's a two legal system framework in the UAE. One is according to the UAE law. That UAE law based upon the UAE code, civil codes. Civil codes, other one is the common law system. The major difference between the common law and the civil law is the common law, judges framed the law. Judge can change the law according to the circumstances and the situations of the cases. But in the civil code, nobody has the right to change the code. It is established code. So every court and lawyers must follow the code, but rules and regulations may be different, can change by the government. So the consistency of this law here is very strong in the mainland, because mainland follow the civil code. Common law is international law. We can say, if you go to other country, we can see, if suppose in India, common law, in the UK, common law, America, common law, Singapore, common law. So in this facilities, if international business persons coming here, invest money, doing business with other countries, other nationalities, then they should prefer common law. Why? Because suppose a dispute comes between the two business partners. One business partner is in the UAE, another business partner, other country, any other country. In that, there is we have to execute the judgment of the courts, UAE courts in other countries. Yeah. In that scenario, the basic principles of law could not be clashed. Suppose UAE law, suppose we get a judgment for UAE court, then we go to implement in the other country. Sometimes there is a common law. Then there is a chance for them to clash the judgment of their system, their public policy, anti-UAE law. So we cannot implement that judgment in that country. In the situation, we will fail to get the justice. For example, some persons will take money and run away from here. He invests in his country. We get the judgment. When we go to the judgment and execute, there is a conflict between the law between two countries. We cannot execute, means we lose the money. So in the scenario, circumstances, if another nationality or another country involved for business here, first option, the lawyers, we advise to client, go to DFC laws, international laws, common law. Because of this, facing the situation in future, suppose happen, we have to take this judgment to our country execute without any hurdles, without any clash.
Exactly. So 200 plus nationalities are coming in here in UAE. So they are doing that business. So whenever outsiders are coming to UAE, they are getting huge opportunity to connect with the different business people and entering into different business. So here DIFC courts is also giving a confidence level to the international business people to come here, and they can avail the protection from DIFC courts and all. Am I right?
Definitely, because in DFC courts is the exclusive jurisdiction for the marine as now. Now for the marine cases, we can file only in DFC courts. We cannot have other choice. Suppose if you have will, if you have property, you can register a will anywhere in the UAE, in the entire world. You can register your will here. You protect you after your death also. Your assets are protected. Same time that if you go to the any other businesses in mainland, suppose you have same business in the offshore free zone, anywhere in the UAE, you can opt the jurisdiction. Both the party agree, for that we agree for the jurisdiction of DFC court and dispute. You can directly go to DFC courts. That is the one of the advantage. Secondly, in the UAE court, suppose if you want, suppose you have not mentioned any involved in a criminal case, suppose a check case involved in your business. So it will come to the criminal case. So criminal case trial, that is better, you go often for the UAE courts. So accordingly, we the lawyers advise the clients which jurisdiction is good for your business for getting you the speedy justice.
And I will ask you one more question. DFC is having the arbitration center also. Well, before coming to that,
Right.
so what is the practice in arbitration center is happening? So that it is very much easy to solve the issues.
Exactly.
Small,
Here, the three arbitration centers are in UAE. Mainly arbitrations. One is Dubai Chamber of Commerce, that is called DIAC. When you have arbitration, it's an independent body. It's under Dubai Chamber of Commerce. Arbitration is conducted by the sole arbitrator or by the arbitrator according to the contract. Second arbitration center is the Dubai International Arbitration, DFC arbitration. Inside DFC courts, there is a separate law for arbitration. You can opt that arbitration also. That's
Right.
the second course. Third one, Dubai International Arbitration, London Court International Arbitration, UK, LCA. It is called QFC LCA. We can opt that also option also. That also available in the DFC. So that means 3 independent arbitration centers are available in the UAE. Is the
Excellent.
number one, first one, the GCC.
Oh.
No other facility.
I would like to invite His Excellency Humayed bin Salam. Sorry, because the arbitration kind of thing is easily, the mitigating the even small dispute that immediately can be resolved. So as Advocate Binoy mentioned about the Dubai Chamber Arbitration Center, so and how they can able to give the confidence level to the business people if anything is coming. So well before taking the legal action and all, within the agreement itself, the dispute can be resolved. That is the the 3 level of that the arbitration center facilities is available in UAE.
Thank you, Sajid. I think when it comes to arbitration, I think we have the ICC also here, the International Chamber of Commerce, and the United Arab Emirates. One of the main centers is in Abu Dhabi, the ICC Arbitration Center, with Abu Dhabi World Financial Center. Then we have arbitration in Dubai. Each chamber of United Arab Emirates have their own local arbitration center. Then we have the ICC in Abu Dhabi. Then we have the GCC in Bahrain. This is when it comes to the availability and choosing from what arbitration center you would like to be associated with on what level. This is one thing. The other thing is being very flexible and having a certain courts, as they say, commercial courts, or all the bylaws in the United Arab Emirates is to help speed the process. And as you all know now, people, even with disputes, they either have to go or finish it with the arbitration center, or even if they have to go to court, there are specialized court for that. And DIFC one is one, and even on the federal level also. On the federal level also, yeah, there is. So hopefully you don't get to that point where you have to go to dispute, but if you do, I think you're in good hands, and the process is in good speed.
Thank you so much, and sir, it was very much informative. And so business protection is the most important. So within the UAE itself, you are getting, and business people, international people can come and to do the right agreement with the right people. That is what the message has come from His Excellency. Definitely, the 3 levels: the international level arbitration is there, the federal level arbitration is there, and the Emirates level. So this 3 level we can able to
4 levels.
4 levels can able to come into that. So thank you so much, and it was wonderful, very much informative, and this session was giving the confidence level to the business people. And definitely this speech and all information we will be passing on the months and months to all business people who are coming to UAE through this global trade and business meet. And thank you, Advocate Binoy Shashi, for giving that your wonderful insight on UAE legal framework. Not only it's a legal framework, people are just thinking about the worst part. No, this is the protection part we were discussing about that. Well, before going to the legal part, we have set up in UAE for the arbitration kind of thing, and well before that, structuring the business and making a clear agreement. That is how this Advocate Binoy and all contributing their services here. So, well, as Advocate Binoy mentioned that, well, before jumping into the business, just look into that compliance and legal structure. If it is very much, clearly, if you are following that, there won't be any issue, even though we don't think for the arbitration matter, as His Excellency was mentioning into that. Thank you so much, Advocate Binoy Shashi, for your wonderful presentation. We are going to the next level of presentation. That is the most important session coming up as the Business and Investment Conclave. This is pretty good for getting the investment or business opportunities. Not only to that, so how to get the credibility, that is most important for business. So if people are coming, newcomers are coming, they are thinking that how to get the credibility in this region. So that is the big question. So then only customers will join with us. So even the billionaires also coming up and taking that track record in the non-oil sector, financial diversification sector, or if you are looking for that for getting the bank credibility system, it will take years and years. However, so here IBMC and Federation of UAE Chambers, we have taken an initiative for introducing this conclave for giving the advantages of corporate listing with the stock exchanges. So here we are inviting that Abu Dhabi Securities Exchange, ADX, coming into that. And I am very much happy to take as a moderator, to continue as a moderator and taking that questions into different levels. And that will be supportive for business class and investors. And I would like to invite Mr. Majid Maita. He is the Managing Director, Capital Market, Abu Dhabi Securities Exchange, for his presentation. And after that, Mr. Majid Abu Jarad, the Executive Director of Capital Market, he will be presenting about the presentation in a different level. Then we will come to that interactive session that I will be asking few questions based on that the business class and inquiries that is going to happen in this business and investment conclave. So please welcome Mr. Majid Mehta into this presentation.
Thank you very much. Actually, it's a great honor to have us into this very respectful forum. My appreciation and is also extended for His Excellency Sheikh Khalid and His Excellency Mr. Humaid for hosting and this event. I really enjoyed Mr. James, Mr. Ahmed, and Mr. Advait for very informative talks and sessions. I've seen really a very diversified information that really added up to our knowledge and how things really are moving in this part of the world, considering the new development and the new challenges. During the last, what I can say is that during the last couple of years, and mainly during the last year, actually, we at the Abu Dhabi Exchange has very much been changing toward really adding up more flexibility to encourage listing on the market. This is from one side, and really to add up depth to our market. As being the secondary market for having for listing of equities and other products. and that has been really inconsistent, even with the changing of the legal status of the market toward being a public joint stock company. As you know, a year ago, ADEX has become a public joint stock company, and then our owners, our new owner, which is Abu Dhabi holding company ADQ, had really shifted more requirements to enhance the market and then to enable depth and to encourage a new listing. So what we have done during the last year mainly is, along with our stakeholders, we have been really moving into bringing more, let's say, more initiatives to enhance for the supply and the demand side on the market. And among that has been initiatives to encourage and really encourage SMEs and family businesses to be converted into joint stock companies, mainly private joint stock companies, and come to our second markets. The outcome of our efforts is having during 2020 18 new listings on our markets between bonds, sukuks, and companies on our second markets. Also this year, beginning of this year, we witnessed a listing of a new company in our second market. Also, the effort of enhancing the market in 2020 has led up to leveraging our capital, our market value to around 750 billion dirhams, and a number of listings to an excess of around 90 or 85 listing on the market. And consistent with what the honorable panels has been talking about, financing the growth and financing the businesses. This is also what we have been trying to introduce to the market as an alternative way for companies to finance their growth, and with very much concentration into medium to small businesses. By saying so is that this is why we have been enhancing and introducing new programs to encourage small businesses to convert into joint stock company and make use of our second market for the private joint stock companies. And the intention that is to secure more financing for those companies, mainly equity, and even other products like sukuk and bonds. This is to finance their future growth until they reach a level where they will be eligible to move to our main market. That is to do their IPOs, either to increase their capital for their future growth, or even it is a potential of sell down for those who would like to sell part of their businesses and then move to the main market. And again, this is one way into bringing more money to that sectors, to the family businesses mainly, to finance their potential growth. For those companies that are still not ready to go or to move to be a joint stock company and to go into our second market, initially we ADEX with other stakeholders, maybe mainly international, are really looking into creating a market. We call it the private market, to enable those SMEs, startups, to finance their growth. The market, this private market, the intention is to be incorporated under ADGM, and the intention is that to create potentials for those companies in their pre-IPOs to finance their growth, and then create another market for another secondary market for those non-joint stock company to enable trade on their ownership if required, post financing their initial positions. This is one initiative the market is ADDX is trying to complete in coordination with government stakeholders, international service providers, and under the jurisdiction of Abu Dhabi global market. We believe that this could be an incubator for a future listing, successful listing in ADDX. All in all, I would say what we are trying to do is to help into covering some of the gaps, into providing proper financing for those companies who would like to grow, who is seeking different different venues for financing their growth. I'm sure we all agreed into the new changes that we witnessed on the capital, on the companies law, the commercial companies law, the 51 amendments or the amendments on the 51 articles into that law, mainly to encourage those companies, such type of companies. This is from one hand, small to medium companies, and mainly to encourage foreign investments. I do agree with Mr. James at the end that the changing on the companies law for those to encourage foreign investor is at this stage limited to certain number of sectors. Yet I need to remind him is that the new law does not have now any more any paragraph that says any companies incorporated under UAE need to have the 5149 rules. So this is no more in our laws, even though it is regulated by local governors. Yet, but this is one important indicator that again UAE has proven that it is more and more open economy, and it is open for foreign investments. It is open for good opportunities, and it is again a place where people can come and do their safe businesses and incorporated their businesses if they can, if they prove to be, those are providing the businesses that is in compliance with the requirements of UAE. Being now not only a country that is really is concerned about its own growth, but UAE is now become an influencer country in the region that really will, inshallah, will lead the growth and the prosperity of the GCC and the region as a whole. I'm very much happy to reply to any of your inquiries.
Thank you so much, and it was very much informative. And covering to that, whether Mr. Majid Abujar is
Yes.
giving any presentation,
Yeah,
then the
Majid.
question we can start after that.
Yeah, Majid definitely have some more to add. Please, Majid.
Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you, Majd, and thank you, everyone. Your Excellency, Mr. Hamid, and everyone present in this call. It's really a pleasure to be with you and to further elaborate on what Mr. Majd Muaita had covered over the last 15 minutes. And frankly speaking, I would say that today in ADDX, we are really looking to be the market of choice for the different companies and in different segments and different sectors. And today, from the efforts that ADX have been taking, as also the support that we are receiving from our holding company and the senior management, we look to further enhance the present and the impact of family businesses in the economy, and also open the opportunity for family businesses to access the capital markets through ADX window. Today, we have a very, I would say, solid and strong program to attract family businesses locally and foreign family businesses to consider the listing of different financial products in the exchange. And this program came as a result of several interviews and meetings and visits that the team in ADX here have taken to unlock the different opportunities that the exchange has for family businesses. We understand that the role of family businesses today is very critical for the economy. Some of the family businesses, the major ones, they have different requirements than the medium, small size ones. Hence, we have, I would say, tailored packages that supports the need of each of those segments with the support from the different partners, whether they are legal, financial, or listing agents who can enhance and further support the journey of the family businesses who are moving from one transition period to another. From the research and the studies that we have conducted and seen, most of the family businesses in our region are currently also in a shifting or a transitioning period from one generation to another, which means that the visions and the values that the founding fathers have put into those companies back in the days are still there, but the decision makers now are young entrepreneurs and young businessmen who might have different appetite to risk and different investment visions. However, by accessing and being in the capital market, we provide an opportunity for those family businesses to sustain, to ensure that the business model continues to grow and to drive their expansion by providing them the right tools that they need to do so. Today, a family business, if they consider being, or family businesses consider being in the capital markets through ADX, they benefit from different factors and different elements. One, they become more attractive to talents and to a different type of skilled professionals who can deliver the needed work and also reflect their knowledge and their experience in the growth of the companies. They can be more hands-on and more in line with the overall economic growth plan and strategic growth plans. And they can also look for inorganic growth opportunities by conducting M&A transactions and expanding in regions which they haven't been into before. So this is what we have been doing in ADX, in addition to what my colleague Mr. Majd Muaita have said earlier. And we continue and we promise to continue to provide more and more opportunities for different segments, for different participants in the market, whether they are issuance or investors, in a very transparent, innovative, and excellence basis. With that, I think we can leave it here for some Q&As from the attendees. And we are really happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Obviously, as we discussed, the concept of the stock exchanges or stock markets, people just thinking about that for trading purpose or buying and selling shares. Not only to that, so here the major role Abu Dhabi Securities Exchange is going to take up, and for giving the confidence level to the the domestic companies and the international companies, they can come and list with the 3 areas of Abu Dhabi stock exchanges. So that's secondary markets. So including that SME platform is there. So here we are again at the UAE level. UAE is giving confidence level to the business people to come forward and taking the credibility. So there is no need of worry about the how to get the market credibility. So market reach, that is most important for business. So international companies can able to approach Abu Dhabi Securities Exchange, and they can list in different levels. So that is the major advantage what UAE is providing to the company. So coming to the questions, the first domestic companies are there. So ADX is providing the services for the domestic companies, even though LLC companies, so they can convert LLC company to PJSC and they can list with in different markets of ADX. Can you please explain that how this conversion, whether it is easy or how people can able to, because the awareness is very less to the business class, even though especially if it is coming to the non-oil sector diversification, the stock market is most important for listing and getting the credibility and reach as well. So can you please explain about the conversion, how the domestic companies can able to convert from the LLC to PJSC, and what kind of support ADX is providing to such companies?
Oh, thank you. Actually, I want to make, and I want to add a statement that ADX is not only open for local companies. ADX actually is very much open for any company, whether it was in the region or even international, to come for listing. We had created regulations that even cater for international listing in our stock exchange. By such, we have so far about 3 or 4 dually listed companies that are incorporated beyond our borders. And recently, in coordination with our regulator, ASCA, we even have created a new laws and regulation that enable those companies that are incorporated under the free zone areas to go public in the and to offer within the UAE borders and have them directly listed in our market. So potentially, those companies with businessmen that are, let's say, non-UAE businessmen that have their businesses under the Jabal Ali or under the any of the free zone areas, and they are eligible to go public, they can go public and have their companies offered, offered within the UAE, and their companies directly listed in ADX. So this is one information which has been, we need very much to stress that at the end of the day, ADX, yes, it is a local market, yet it is also open for international companies if they wish to come for either direct listing or dual listing. By the way, we have, when it comes to the bond market, for instance, we have an excess of $40 billion that are dually listed in our market between London and between Euronext and other international markets. Coming back to your question on how can an LLC be converted and listed on our second market, again, this is a very simple exercise. Usually it takes around 2 to 3 months for a company to be converted from an LLC company and then have them listed in our market. The companies law have the very simple requirements for converting companies from an LLC to public, to private or even public if they wish to. And we're talking about the private because converted from an LLC to private does not have the component of going public, that is an IPO offering. So technically, companies can move from an LLC to private joint stock company, and then once they are ready to go public, they still can go post being listed on our second market. Requirements are very simple. Companies' capital need to be in compliance with capital law, with the company's law. That is at the minimum of 5 million dirhams only. They have to be incorporated for a minimum of 2 years with the produced audited financial statements. Their equities should not be less than their capital, and then the owner should have approved the conversion. This is the only requirements needed for company to be converted from an LLC to private joint stock company. The journey takes around 2 to 3 months maximum from being converted to listed, because by law in between there are some grace period of 1 month for creditors to object any conversion post the announcement of the conversion. A company also has to submit a very simple market study answering the question why I want to convert from an LLC to the public, to the private joint stock company. There are one additional requirements is that number of shareholders post to transforming should not be less than 30 shareholders, 30. However, we can always facilitate exemptions if it is required, if companies cannot reach the 30 shareholder to be listed on our second market.
Fine. So about so you were mentioning about the foreign PJC company can list directly with ADX. And
Yes.
Can you please explain about the clearing and settlement matter, especially on the depository concept? So whether international depository coming in place or the domestic depository system is coming?
No, because we are, this is very, thank you very much. So currently, we run our own depository. Clearing and settlement shall comply to ADX rule on a net basis through our brokers in a dirham base. So for whom who would choose to be listed in our market, he has to comply with our own clearing and settlement. Yet, definitely, as you know, we still have our own, we still have opens for our custodian and the clearing houses to guarantee the ownership of the international investors. However, ADX now is again building up, is going into two directions. One direction, we're gonna spin off our central depository to be an independent company. Second, we are building our CCP. So once that is completed, definitely we'll be able to adhere to the international standards of a clearing and settlement, including a clearing and settlement in different currencies, including definitely most important, opening up for the derivative markets and other options.
Yeah, CCP is international, the accredited. It is coming like that.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine, great. Again, the other question about the dual listing. So dual listing, currently considering who are having the double treaty, that countries only, or how it is happening?
Actually, we have an MOUs with 30 plus stock markets all over the world that facilitate the concept of dual listing. The dual listing again is a very simple. The way we are running it is a very simple exercise for those who wish to, for those issuers who wish to have access to our liquidity and to our market, can dual list their shares on our market. And for those segments of investors who would like to trade on our market, simply they move their ownership from the mother market to the central depository of ADX and trade according to ADX. And once they want to move their ownership back to their home market, simply this is an arrangement between the central and the clearing depository between the both markets. In 24 hours, those ownership could be moved to the home market if they wish to.
Thank you. Again, the ETF and funds listing, is there, it's different than the corporate listing?
Thank you. Actually, yes, we are. Yes, as you know, now we are so happy with the Shumera ETF that is listed on our market for around a year or less than a year by now, and we're expecting another 2 to 3 new listing of ETFs listing on our markets. When it comes to the ETF requirements, definitely no, it is not similar to those of the equities because, but it is definitely is treated as a fund to be listed in our market. Clearing and settlements are similar to those of equities, yet there are because there are authorized participants included into the cycle of trading and the clearing. It is somehow same as clearing and settlement of normal or equities, yet with the introduction of the authorized participant and the custodian, trading settlement is little bit different. However, it applies to the same T+2 rules.
It is very much clear, Mr. Majid, and thank you so much. And coming to the interesting part for the corporate, the ADX is giving incentive packages. So considering to that, what all are incentives in the sense, the pre-listing advisory services, what ADX is giving, or the what all are listing supports giving, or the post-listing services. So these three things are most important for the international companies when they are coming. Can you please explain about these three, the incentive packages, how ADX is extending?
Yeah, we have actually two types of incentives for listing of mainly family businesses. For those who would like to convert and list in our market, we support the fees of the legal houses for that really take them into the journey of listing. So if those are qualified to be under the incentive programs of ADX, supported by our ADQ, our owners ADQ, we will be paying for their legal advisors for their conversion and listing, and then they will be subject to 2 years waiver of listing fees, and then we'll be helping them post listing with their listing agents to also to help them to for those companies, usually family businesses being an LLC, they are not familiar with being a listing entity. So for those agencies, we will hire an agency to stay with those companies for 2 years for issues like compliance with the corporate governance, disclosure requirements, and so on for 2 years, and that will be totally covered by the stock market.
So thank you. So again, one more thing, and what I had seen again, the one-to-one, the sector-wise, some sector-wise special advices what ADX is giving to the companies, especially on information technology or healthcare, pharmaceuticals, food security, and business process management or outsourcing. So how you can able to define that to this, the services, how people can able to avail from you?
Yeah, this is also one frankly speaking, a sort of out of the box things, because usually stock markets do not involve into providing advices into that sector. So, but however, because we want to help and we want to cover certain gaps, we have created a bureau within the stock markets that goes and do actually direct advisory into one-to-one advisory for those companies who are interested in our market. So we do certain high-level evaluation, and then we show them the right map and the roadshow. The roadmap how to be converted and listed in our market. So that is partly this is partly of a sort of the financial advisor roles. But however, we at a high level, we provide it for those companies. And then if those companies are very much convinced, then we hook them with the right financial advisor and the right legal houses to continue their journey.
Definitely, I would like to invite His Excellency Humaid bin Salam for commenting from the Federation of UAE Chambers side about this listing advantages, especially on that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sachin. I think it's always good to hear from the expert. Mr. Al-Muaita and Majid, they showed us lots of insights where who can register, where they can register, some of the benefits. But one thing I really liked with His Excellency Mr. Al-Muaita mentioned in the beginning about small companies or local companies going to the international level. This takes a very good legal structure, frame structure, physical structure. And by associated with markets like this market, I think, ADX, and having the credibility, I think this will give them a boost, and this will give them a head start to do business internationally, not just locally. Because when it comes to locally, everybody knows you, and you know to that level, and you can. But when you do it on international level, the structure and the market that you're associated with or a member of makes a big difference. This is only what I want to mention. And thank you again, Mr. Al-Muaita. I think you are. I cannot say enough. I think you are a perfect example of expertise putting it to help small businesses. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And Mr. Majid, one question is there about the credibility. So as an emerging market, the UAE becomes the emerging market status, and the international ratings are also coming into that. So can you please explain about that, the emerging market status and the international rating from the Big Whistle and all other agencies for the companies level?
Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much. First of all, thank you, Your Excellency, Mr. Hamad, for good wording. This is very encouraging. Thank you very much. And this is really another boost for ADX to continue really their role into supporting those small businesses and family businesses and trying to bring them to the market with the intention to make sure that those businesses are sustainable and are accessible to the right support and for their growth. On the rating side, and as you know that ADX has been granted into the emerging market, and to increase our rating actually there where we had starting adding up to the our coherence and adherence to the international standards when it comes to clearing settlements and the way we monitor our regulations and our day-to-day operations. And to add on our credibility, this is why we introduce the FTSE indices to take care of our indices. And this is really to bring us to different level when it comes to the international practice. I believe having ADX as a public joint stock company, spinning off of the central depository and introducing the CCP would definitely bring ADX to a different level of credibility under the international standard.
And one more last question that's for investors. So can you please explain about the Abu Dhabi Securities Exchange investor protection strategy?
Well, actually, the good thing with ADEX, it is the way we do our settlements. It is that we are a zero default market. We never witness any default into our settlements. This is because the way we run so far, how settlements is done within through brokers in the net positions. And in cases if any, God forbidden, any act where brokers were not able to fulfill their obligations to where their clients. The market has enough bank guarantees that can step in for liquidation to fulfill and protect the interest of those of the buyers. On the selling side, again, because it is a payment versus delivery, so always there will be no movement of assets from A to B unless making sure that the money is being delivered between and clear between the both parties.
So thank you so much. It was giving the clear indication that how UAE can able to help out the business community and investment community, and especially giving that the confidence level and the credibility level to the corporate. So getting immediate credibility. So that is only the way the compliance. So and due diligence. So how to do that compliance and due diligence? People, the thousands of companies are there, keep their due diligence and compliance in top level, and they can able to establish their entity as Mr. Majid was saying, 2 to 3 months time. So 2 to 3 months time, they can list it directly and they can get into the credibility list of the region. So that is what the immediate things what we need to take up from this presentation. And the incentives level already informed that the pre-listing advisory services will be there and listing support will be there. Then post-listing services will be there. And apart from that, all the clearing and settlement, they have centralized the system of depository and CCP as well. It is, the complementing to the international standards. And to my understanding, and this is providing all the facilities to the international companies to come on board, and with the ADX, irrespective of the domestic companies or international companies. And domestic companies, it's important to take into the next level in the industry. That is important. If international companies are coming, especially through Expo 2021, and they are looking for the credible companies. So the economy is concerned. So we all are saying that, so which all our sectors are active there, which all are companies listed with the stock markets giving the priority. So in such level, domestic market players, the companies, what we are suggesting to list with the ADX and take that immediate credibility and take into the next level. So thank you so much, Mr. Majid Mehta, and Managing Director of Capital Market, Abu Dhabi Securities Exchange, ADX, and Mr. Majid Abu Jarrad, Executive Director, Capital Market, Abu Dhabi Securities. Is the first information, I think, it's coming out from ADX such a level, large scale, and this reach also definitely. So 50 plus companies, countries, it is going to their companies, and different, and definitely His Excellency Humaid bin Salim also will take up this into the next level for extending the 7 Emirates chambers as well as the ICC, if it is coming 130 plus countries. So thank you so much once again for this wonderful presentation and joining Business and Investment Conclave and advantage of corporate listing with the stock exchange. We are heading for new era. No doubt, we know that the exchange role is most important for investor awareness. That is also we are considering into that. So this event, this meet, we are also considering as investor awareness the event. So thank you so much, and business people all they will be enjoying. And any kind of questions, we are getting a lot of questions because due to the limitations and focusing to the right topic and to conclude on right time. So that's why we were not, involving the public directly to involve into the Q&A session. And we are getting that, and we will taking up all the questions, and we will escalate to ADX. I hope that so we will be getting appropriate support from ADX for extending those replay to the public. Thank you so much, and once again thanking you, Mr. Majid Abu Jarad. And I cannot forget Mr. Amar as well. So Amar was also supporting very well, and for getting such a wonderful session and extending this valuable information globally from UAE.
Thank you. It's our pleasure, sir. It's our pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So thank you so much, and so we are concluding our this second month, the global trades and business meets 2021. So we will catch up next month. March 3rd is every month first Wednesday. So we will be coming out with different sectors. So last month, January, we were covering to the bullion and metals and minerals and mining. That was also important for that last month. And this month, so we have covered beautifully in a different level. So we are heading to the new era and not following the past. And we are taking all new steps and the new things, how it is going to happen for the trades and finance and the corporate listing. So without corporate listing, nothing is going to happen. So the economy forefront, the largest stock exchange, Abu Dhabi Securities Exchange officials came with us, and they were fully supporting us. And once again, on behalf of IBMC and His Excellency Sheikh Khalid bin Ahmed Al Hamid, IBMC's chairman, we are extending a sincere gratitude to all speakers, participated, and all industry leaders, they were also hearing this. That's what the most important, and the industry players are also hearing that. And this copy of, the recorded version also will be extending to, the international business class. And we are winding up this second month. The Trades and Business Meets 2021. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sajid. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mr. Khalifa Al Kubisi, if he's there, I would like to invite him. So I would like to extend sincere thanks for the chief guest for the day, His Excellency Humaid bin Salim, Secretary General of Federation of UAE Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and the industry expert, Mr. James Matthew, CEO and Managing Partner of UHY James UAE. Then Mr. Ahmed Said Ali, CEO of Bearbull Global Investments Group, DAFC. Advocate Binoy Shashi, international lawyer, DAFC, is a partner of Ben's IBM's International Law and Compliance Center. And Mr. Majid Maita, Managing Director of Abu Dhabi Securities Exchange, and Mr. Majid Abu Jarad, Executive Director of Abu Dhabi Securities Exchange. Thank you once again. And officially concluding Global Trades and Business Meet 2021 February month. Thank you once again to all of you. Stop.